have a video to show you. Alexandra Pelosi, who is our videographer, she's great. She's done, I think, 8 different programs for HBO over the years. We sent her out to talk to real Americans in the South. Now, I'm going to show you this video. I want you to understand something, because she wrote me a long letter explaining this. She did not cherry-pick these people. She got off the plane. This is in Mississippi. It is the poorest state in our union. We are not making fun of anybody. She did not seek out people who look like what some people would say rednecks. And she said if you took any of the footage we didn't use, it would look just like the footage we did use. And by the way, all these people said they knew they were going to be on this show, and they think I'm going to hell. So I'm going to show you the video, and just know that we're going to send Alexandra Pelosi in the future to the inner city to get the views of people who are not probably the same political stripe. But here we are in Mississippi with Alexandra Pelosi's video.
Hey, Bill, I'm here in Mississippi, the poorest state in America, which is also the most conservative state in our union.
So why is Mississippi so conservative?
Well, you're in the heart of the Bible Belt. We believe in family. We believe in Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Whoever gets elected needs to be family orientated.
God should come into his mind in everything that he does.
You never liked the president, did you?
Never, and never will.
Why not?
One thing, his name's Obama.
This is America. Our president should be American, not Muslim.
I don't even like it. When I see him on TV, I turn it off. I don't like it.
Is it because he's black?
No, it's not because he's black, because he's a half-breed. He's black too, but he's a half-breed.
I guess I'm a little prejudiced.
Are you? You don't like black people?
Not much.
Why not?
Just don't.
What is this? Where are we?
We're in the state of Mississippi. I don't care for the government. They don't show me anything.
You get food stamps.
Yeah, but I think I deserve food stamps. I have no employment.
I hate Obamacare. I think it's retarded and pointless.
But a lot of people in Mississippi need health care.
Yeah. Back when I was growing up and when my parents were growing up and my grandparents were growing up, we didn't have all that, and people still made it. And back then, people pulled their own weight. They didn't sit around waiting for everyone else to take care of them.
So you don't care about the economy?
No, just take care of yourself. You put God back in the saddle, and I'll be okay.
So something's not working here.
That's
Voting
right.
Republican hasn't worked for you.
But it could.
But it hasn't.
It hasn't, but it could.
Why is the poorest state the most conservative state?
We would rather go broke and die hungry than to give up our moral beliefs.
I feel like that voting God and voting faith is more important to me than voting for free money or voting for a handout.
I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, even if I go broke doing it.
We're not going to be pushed over. We lost the war. That's true. But we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to back down from what we believe. And like the tag on the front of my truck says, the South will rise again.
Okay. Well, now, some of these guys have to lie to get laid. I'm just saying this. And by the way, she said she cut out 20 people who also did not have teeth. Just so you know that it wasn't like, oh, we're going to show the guy with no teeth. She had to cut out a lot of people who also didn't have teeth, so it didn't look like all...
the most teeth.
Yeah. Of the footage we had, yes, the most teeth. Not that we're counting, but you know, the caucus this Saturday, tomorrow, is in Kansas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kansas. That's the famous book. What's the matter with Kansas? And this is the question I think that she's asking in this. Now, there is something noble about when these guys say things like, I would rather starve than take free money. And yet the other guy said, you know, of course I'm entitled to stamps.
Right.
You know. Isn't there a point to the Kansas thesis? They vote against their economic interests. They can't see past their prejudices, and it hurts them economically.
Well, it's also, I think it's also a little bit about what the guy said of, like, it hasn't worked yet. but it might.
Yes.
Things are right around the corner. You can tell from the guy's house that he's one step away
for prosperity
from hitting it big. And if only a couple things would have broke his way. And that's kind of that's been like the modern right-wing approach has been like it's the party of like you're going to win the lottery. And a miracle's going to happen.
That's what Mitch Daniels said after the State of the Union address. We don't see ourselves as the party of haves and have-nots. We see ourselves as the party of haves and soon-to-haves. Right. Soon-to-haves.
I think the general argument, and it's true, I think, across the country for a lot of folks, is that everyone aspires to some level of prosperity. No one wakes up in the morning and says, all I want to be today is poor. Everyone is working towards their goals. And in that process, there are philosophical, ideological, religious views that are hard set. I mean, when you talk about in the 21st century, the South will rise again. Well, what the hell does that mean exactly? You know, how are you defining that? I think the South would argue as a whole, particularly in places like Atlanta and elsewhere, that they're looking for a different kind of prosperity where everyone benefits from it and is not segregated upon class or race. But there is a reflection here of an America that still exists, that does live in fear, that does live in concern that freedoms are being taken away. And the leadership has to somehow figure out, particularly in the cycle, how to address that and move the country past that and forward. And if they don't...
Well, it seems like the Democrats need to figure out some way to speak to people, too. Because the problem here is both there's a lot of prejudice, but there's not a lot of alternatives that are being offered by the Democratic Party. But it does look like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And until we change that, I think there's a lot of truth to what some of the people are saying.
The Democrats don't pick up on the notion. And I went back to Adam Smith to talk about capitalism. Adam Smith, the founder of capitalism, said the one thing you have to watch out for is concentrated wealth and power. Because if you allow that, a corporatist system, you are destroying economic liberty. Right. He wrote about workers' rights. He said, we've got to have workers' rights. We've got to have a social, in those days, 1776, a social safety net. And time again in this country, the Great Depression being the biggest, capitalism was saved, according to The Economist, by FDR, because the times when the disparity is great, you've got to expand the safety net so that the capitalist system is stable enough to operate. When we
and the critical thing I think about the safety net is that it should be, and I believe Newt Gingrich has said this from time to time as well, that it's not something that when you fall into it, it holds you, but you bounce out of it and you're able to move on and get to a better place.
Trampoline.
A trampoline.
But
and that's
not a hammock.
It's not a hammock. Not a hammock.
We can't have a hammock.
Can't have a hammock.
And we can't have a net.
That's right.
Got to have a trampoline.
You got to bounce up. But
you can't bounce when there's a 1% and a 99%.
And you can't do that. And
how are these people going to bounce? You know,
they're not.
But then they believe whether it's in this sort of faceless vision at the top, that is whether it's Jesus or a corporation or the corporate entity, that this unidentifiable thing that they can not quite reach, but it's somehow inspiring. And it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you look at this and you say, like, you've made some poor decisions. Now let's try to fix the system that sort of forced you into those decisions and work it from that way.